Hello, Bobby Phillips here. With this video, I will be demonstrating how to conduct a nutrient analysis of a recipe. Some limitations to this software are listed in your Moodle environment under instructions for the term project. I encourage you to read more there. All nutrient analysis software utilizes the USDA food database. uh, this is just one of those pieces of software. So you're going to start by going to choosemyplate.gov and clicking on Super Tracker. Super Tracker was originally designed to track food and nutrient intake uh, for people's individual diets, but this last fall 2013, they added a component tracking your recipe. So you'll just click on My Recipe, and it's really pretty straightforward. The screen looks very busy, but focus on step 1, 2, and 3. So I usually just start right away with the ingredients for my recipe, which I have printed out in front of me. This particular recipe I'm demonstrating is for my pumpkin bars. My before pumpkin bars, which starts with eggs. So I enter eggs and it gives me options. Then you're going to click in the amount. This is kind of sometimes a bit tedious. You have to study the screen and sort of hunt and peck. My recipe contains 4 eggs. So I'm going to add 4 eggs, and you will see my recipe ingredients showing up over here. Then this is step 1. You simply add your ingredients. It's pulling this information from the USDA's database. Then I'm going to add sugar. And my particular recipe calls for 1 cup and 3/4. So 3/4 is not an option. So I'll start with 1 cup. I'll add that. And sometimes you have to play with it to essentially tell the computer what is in your recipe. So realize that this is free software. Let me see. Does it give me an option for 3/4 of a cup? Cup. There it is. Sometimes you have to play with these amounts, teaspoons and tablespoons. So I'm going to check my work. I have a total of 1 3/4 cup of sugar. Now I can go on to the next ingredient. My recipe calls for Crisco oil, and as you'll see, it came up with 67 types of oil. So to narrow my search, hopefully, I'll try vegetable oil. And that didn't work either. So how about if I try corn oil? Remember, this is my before recipe, so we can assume that it was not the most nutrient-dense choice. Let's assume Wesson oil is a mix of corn and canola oil. So my original recipe called for 1 cup. Here's 1 cup. And I'm going through, and so far we've not come across anything tricky. Pumpkin, let's just leave it at that. This is canned pumpkin puree. It's not showing up. Canned pumpkin. Helps if you type correctly. See? It's strange. Did you see that? I tried pumpkin, it didn't work. So I put in pumpkin canned, and it worked. You will have to do that. At times, it is tedious, but remember, you're talking to the computer, and what it's trying to do is sort through its files, which are filing cabinet, with all different pieces of paper in it, representing a recipe, or listing of ingredients. So, type that right, flour. It's looking for that food, and then you have to tell it what food you're after. So, I'm finding the piece of paper called white flour, and I'm telling the computer that in my recipe there are 2 cups. Now, of course, it matters that you're as precise as possible. Will you have to make substitutions? Yes. So far, I'm not encountering any substitutions. Baking powder. Before they put in this recipe builder, it was difficult to find non-nutrient 1 teaspoon baking powder. There weren't a lot of things like baking powder and spices in the database, but they're there now. You will encounter some spices that are missing. So I'm just about finished adding my ingredients. So far it's been pretty straightforward. 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to add that. Now this is interesting. Pumpkin pie spice. I seriously doubt pie spice. And of course I don't have that in my kitchen. I use a blend of cinnamon, ginger, and nutmeg. So realize that herbs and spices, cinnamon, boy, I can't spell that. There it is. Herbs and spices, for the most part, have very little nutritional content. So for our purposes, I can certainly use 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. The exception to that, I believe, exceptions are parsley and basil, because you can use significant amounts of them in the recipe. So I got my cinnamon and raisins. Now I use golden raisins, so we'll see if that's an option. We have plain raisins, and then it moves into raisin bagels and so on. So raisins, golden, aren't much different than regular raisins, but let's try this. See if they have golden raisins in the database. Nope. So here's an example of where I would have to make a substitution. Realize when I grade yours, I will look for reasonable substitutions, understanding that the database is limited. So if you make a significant substitution, you might want to check with me. Or if you're having trouble figuring out what to substitute. So I have put into my recipe my ingredients. The number of portions and these pumpkin bars are huge. So in a pan, I only have 12. Realize that portion size is critical for determining nutrient content of this recipe, because think that whole batch is divided by that number. And what's key here is that you're consistent. So when you're doing the nutrient analysis of your before recipe, make sure you use the same portions for your nutrient-dense recipe so that you're comparing apples to apples. So this is my regular pumpkin bars. All right, I'm going to fast forward and show you what we have accomplished, and then we're going to go back and check our work. So first of all, I saved my recipe, and then I'm going to check my recipe. So I'm going to open it with a Microsoft Word document. Let's see if this works. There we go. Here are my regular pumpkin bars. This is showing, isn't this kind of fun, the nutrient content of that pumpkin bar. And I want to go through and see Where are my calories? It's been a while since I did this. There are the nutrients, protein, carbohydrate. This is in 1 serving. Oh, there it is, right in front of me. 1 serving has 429 calories, 6 calories from solid fat, and the sugar and fat calories are 117. What this is also showing you is what contribution it makes to food groups. So obviously pumpkin bars are grain, refined grains at that, a tad of red and orange vegetable. So what's neat about this is then you can just go up File and Save. So I will save that, but I want to go back to this software and check my work. So what's interesting about this is to find it. Remember, you saved it. So where it saves is in my favorite food list. So recognize this. We were working in my recipe. We built my recipe. Then we saved it as pumpkin bars. Where did it save it? Not on your computer, but under my favorite foods. While you were in there, you saved it as a Word document on your computer. So, to check our work, again, I was just fast forwarding there. To check our work, we're going to go back to our pumpkin bar recipe. See if it, no, that doesn't work. Double clicking, so let's edit it. There's my recipe again. So, here are the ingredients I put in. Again, all I did was put in the ingredients. I fast forwarded showing you what the result is. But before we print this out for our term projects, let's go back and check our recipes. Because all of that nutrient data, that 400 and some calories we were looking at, is worthless if our ingredients are incorrect. So let's check our ingredients. 4 eggs, correct. 1 3/4 cup sugar. Yep. Let's see, a cup of oil, canned pumpkin, flour, baking powder, salt. Scroll down, check your ingredients. Yep. Okay, so now you have to tell your teacher that you put the ingredients in correctly. How are you going to do that? Well, this is where it gets a bit tricky. The program doesn't allow you to just print out a listing of your ingredients. There it is, 429 calories. So you're going to have to show your teacher that you put in the data correctly. To do that, copy. You're going to scroll down, clicking on these ingredients. You're going to highlight them, tab on the, or click on them, right click, copy, go to a Microsoft Word document, open it up, make it a big screen, and paste. So this is your ingredients list. This is the first report that you need to turn in. This is your ingredient report. Ingredient report for your before recipe. So you're going to file and save that. This is the first step of doing your nutrient analysis. Okay, so that's report number 1. The second report that you're going to turn in is the actual nutrient intake. It's called the recipe details report. That's what I highlighted for you earlier. It's what I showed you. So you're going to dump it to a Microsoft Word document. You can dump it to Excel or a PDF. Dump it to a Microsoft Word document. Click OK. And there's that report. So we verify